We just started working with Marriott residences. So they are obviously very good at
Congratulations
branding.
on that partnership.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So they're our first enterprise partner. Your mental health is impacted by where you live and where you work, your physical health. Your levels of trust in society are greatly influenced by your built environment, which people, I don't think, realize. So I think like understanding that you are being affected by your built environment and what to demand, I think is the first piece, right? If you don't know what to demand, then how do you know what good looks like?
Welcome to Humanity in the Age of AI. Today we are blessed to have Joanna Frank, CEO of Fitwel, a company that is doing a new certification for buildings that is changing from thinking about spas in buildings to make it a true lifestyle change and an evaluation metric that people really have to think about. It's a pleasure to have you today. I'm Shubhalok G. I've had a long career in healthcare, in large companies and entrepreneurial. Currently, I have a keen interest in the intersection of creativity, AI, and great companies like yours, Joanna. So I'll hand it over to you. Tell us a little bit about you, your journey, and a little bit about Fitwel.
Thank you. Yeah, great to be here. I was working for Michael Bloomberg in 2010. I had been a real estate developer and then obviously had to leave for obvious reasons with the 2008 recession. And that's where I transitioned from being a real estate developer using my gut instinct as far as decision making was concerned to really one of becoming like a data-driven approach to real estate development. First of all, we worked in New York City to transform it from being a car-centric to a people-centric place, and continuing that work for the last 15 years to really, how do we use data to bring about change for real estate so that buildings and neighborhoods are optimized for people? And how do we do it in a way that's measurable and accountable? So excited for this conversation.
Great. So tell us a little bit about the value proposition of Fitwel and how that fits into the development of buildings for people that just don't know this space, like myself.
Sure. So the evidence base is very strong. We can show that by prioritizing the people in your buildings, so the design of your buildings, the location of your buildings, where you're operating buildings using an evidence-based approach, there is a direct correlation to financial performance. So we can say if you just look at indoor air quality, we know the optimum level for that. We know how to create it with HVAC equipment. And then we also know what that means for productivity, what that means for tenant satisfaction, employee satisfaction, which in turn obviously has big implications as far as the companies that are within the spaces and then the ability to retain those companies if you're the real estate owner. So all of this can now be quantified, but it's a huge amount of information. And so that's obviously where AI comes in.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about the data, right? Because you're talking about a data-centric and outcomes-driven. Take us through just a little bit. How would a building developer or a REIT actually evaluate that data?
Yeah, so we have taken the global evidence space. It's about 7,000 peer-reviewed research studies. We've analyzed all of the outcomes of those research studies, and with that information, we created a standard. So Fitwel is a standard. There's 150 strategies, which are really looking at each of those attributes of a building, both for new construction as well as existing assets. So you can use it for a roadmap. So we've done a lot of that work in synthesizing the evidence base. And then as a developer or as the owner of the building, you're really coming in and using it first and foremost as a way to benchmark your property where it is today, and then use it as a roadmap. So if I want to invest in an existing property and make it more valuable, more health promoting, which of course is more valuable, what do I do next? So it isn't just a checklist of kind of, oh, these are all the things I could do, but every strategy is actually weighted because the evidence is strong enough that we can say this strategy will have a greater impact on health than another strategy. So it becomes a very kind of informed decision making. You aren't just looking at a list and picking randomly.
And is this a part of everyone's evaluation right now? Is it emerging?
Yeah, so I think that the data-driven approach to real estate has been going probably about 5 years in earnest at this point. So the companies that we work with tend to be the institutional investors, the pension plans, some sovereign wealth funds, the big REITs. So I'd say that at the kind of at that decision-making level of real estate, a lot of folks making the financial decisions have made this kind of connection. It is trickling down to individual real estate developers. And one of the reasons that we're seeing a big growth is actually because consumer demand has really escalated in the last 3 years.
Okay.
So this used to be kind of the demand for using certification used to first and foremost be for investors looking for institutional grade reporting. But that has shifted. And now it's really consumers saying, I will pay more for a home that has a health badge, or I will pay more for a hotel room that has been certified, as being health promoting. So I think that this shift in consumer demand is really changing the conversation.
Okay. And so typically, is there a number of these certifications that they would evaluate? And how do you differentiate yourself?
Yeah. So the first certifications we're building were really about environmental sustainability.
The LEED, correct?
Exactly.
Yep.
LEED was the first here in the US. BREEAM was the first really globally, which is a certification based out of the UK. So yes, they were the forerunners to the health certifications. And then there's two main healthy building certifications, us, Fitwel, and then the other one is called WELL, which I know confuses everybody. Okay. But anyway, similarly named. But those are we are the two big healthy building certifications globally.
Okay. And so you mentioned AI previously.
Mm-hmm.
So I ask all the guests, how is it, what are your thoughts overall? And then any kind of insights that you can give us, how it's impacting real estate development or your actual certification or marketing. Would love to hear your insights there.
Yeah, I think for me, AI is exciting as someone who really looks at, a vast amount of evidence. We're always looking to synthesize evidence and data. And I think one of the issues of real estate and the reason that it hasn't transformed yet, it's one of those kind of lagging industries where technology really hasn't made a big difference to real estate development practice and construction and so on. And I think it's because we have all these disparate kinds of information that all have to come together in order for a building or an asset to be successful. And so, you have health data, which looks very different from lease-up data or financial data. You have demographic information, which you need to understand, obviously, to know who am I building for? Who is my target market? And what do they demand? You have geographic information, you have climate information. So you have all of these disparate pieces of data, none of which are the same kind of data. But you have to be able to bring those all together to understand, how do I optimize the design and the development of this particular building? And so I think what AI allows for is really that kind of bringing in all of this different kind of information and synthesizing it to a common goal, which for real estate is always return on investment, in case anybody's in any doubt.
Absolutely. And if I am a consumer and I'm looking into different developers, so how would I get a hold of this information? Yeah,
so on our website, on fitwel.org, there is a public directory.
Okay.
And a lot of developers choose to be recognized on there, not all of them. Some folks don't want to be publicly recognized there. But that is one way to see, is it's a Fitwel-Certified building. Folks do also put plaques on their buildings as well, which is fine. It's, that's a way of signaling, this is a healthy building. There's a lot of marketing that's happening, especially now that's becoming more consumer driven. Before, the owners of buildings were telling their investors that we're doing this. But now, if this is consumer demand that folks are responding to, what you're saying is really important, and that is, how are we communicating out to the general public? So this is going to become more and more of a kind of a strategy going forward. And we are not experts in doing that, so we will be, as usual, partnering with the companies, our clients, who are very good at, brand, and a lot of this is about market differentiation. So yeah, we just started working with Marriott Residences, so they are obviously very good at
Congratulations
branding.
on that partnership.
Thank you. Yeah. Absolutely. So they're our first enterprise partner. And so we will be working with them to really market the fact that they're using Fitwel and what that means for their guests and what that means for residences and the folks living in those properties. So it's exciting and new challenge, really, for us.
And are you building marketing capability internally, or you'll kind of partner with them and utilize them as the whole marketing of Fitwel?
I mean, we will do it together. We have a marketing team.
Okay.
They have a much larger marketing team.
Of course.
This is what we've done. That's how we've built the brand.
Okay.
Is that we've always partnered with our clients, and then really that kind of peer-to-peer networking is how we've built Fitwel. We've never had a big marketing budget.
So you mentioned that you are business development for Fitwel.
I like to talk about it.
Yeah. And so, how, as you scale into these large partnerships, will AI come in at all? Or, have you thought about how you might expand the company?
Yeah, absolutely. We're already in 60 countries. So we do have a team that is doing business development, not just me. I think, AI on the day-to-day running of the company, obviously it really increases the efficiency, especially with marketing communications, especially when you're working in different languages and so on. So I think that to be able to create that kind of content, which is targeted to your audience is essential. Yes, I think that it really will help. It will help us in the same way that it will help on the certification and the standard side in really coming up with unique solutions for assets rather than generalized solutions. I think that is also the promise on the marketing side, right? You can really speak to specific audiences in a way that would be very difficult.
But you will expand your team rather than decrease your team to expand to this new demand that's coming.
Yeah, I think we are very much a company that partners with folks. So we will be partnering with companies. We're doing a lot of work in APAC region right now. So we will be partnering with our channel partners in that region. We don't need to replicate their kind of relationships. Real estate is a relationship business.
Absolutely.
So yes, AI can do things faster and bring together a lot of different information, but really it's the relationships that endure. So I think that's where these things go hand in hand. So we will be working with the companies that have those relationships in the regions and then supporting them.
And for that, I know you also mentioned the Middle East was an area that you're expanding, and obviously there's a huge amount of real estate development. So do you see yourself continuing to be able to be the face of the company with that type of breadth? Or?
Yeah, so I will be going to Abu Dhabi in about a week's time, hopefully.
Okay.
The Middle East has been a really important expansion for us. We're working with ALDA, which is funded by one of the sovereign wealth funds. They have a very large portfolio of assets. And what is really exciting about the work we're doing in this region is that there's government support, and the government has set an intention that they want to be the healthiest country in the world and have the longest health span. So you've got that kind of top-down government is setting goals, kind of mobilizing the health department to really optimize health outcomes, and then are expanding into all of the pieces that affect health outcomes, including the built environment. So you have this really great kind of synergy between all kind of levels of decision making, which is what we saw here in New York City when we changed New York. It was very much a similar thing where you had the mayor wanting it, you had real estate, and the owners of the real estate understanding it was in their financial best interest.
So what do you think this picture is going to look like in 3 to 5 years? When you think about real estate, I've never really thought about health. You know what I mean? In terms of, I understand as an employer, you want someone to be more productive, but it really makes sense that you want a building that makes you more productive. You want a building that's up to standard, and it should make it more attractive.
Yeah. Buildings have a measurable impact on your health.
Absolutely.
Even if you don't know it.
Yeah.
So where you live, where you work,
it
is affecting your health outcomes.
Right.
So it's like, shouldn't you be
Especially
aware of
so many people working at home now, right?
Wherever you are.
Yeah.
In a 24-hour cycle, your built environment is affecting the air quality that you're breathing, the amount of heat that you're exposed to, or cold that you're exposed to. It's hot here in New York today, so I'm thinking heat.
Yes.
But heat alone costs companies hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in lost productivity. So there's very tangible kind of individual health consequences, and then very significant financial implications for businesses as well as for the owners of the assets as well. So, and what's nice about the evidence base, just to give an example of Heat Island which is the kind of phenomenon that you see in cities where there's a concentration of heat in cities because of the materials and the color and so on of the materials. So for every degree that you can cool the air around a building, there's about a $50 increase in rent premium.
Oh, wow.
And there's very kind of tangible strategies that we have that allow you to cool that building and therefore the surrounding air. So it's a very kind of linear path to, okay, this is the outcome we want, which is our real estate to be more valuable. How can we really look at it from a people perspective, which is what we're talking about.
So are you doing a lot of educational efforts, or is that coming from the developers and the REITs to get people more aware as a consumer of how important this is?
Yeah, I think the consumer-driven piece is, we're not doing actually the consumer-driven piece. I think it's hospitality is definitely kind of leading that conversation. We are obviously working now with Marriott, although it's their residences. So I think that the consumer demand, there's a lot of popular demand for health and wellness. It's become very of the moment. I think ever since COVID, basically, people started to have that much deeper understanding of air quality, of being socially isolated, those kind of things, which have a huge impact on your health outcomes. So I think there's a lot of popular demand. There's a lot being written. And in some regions, the Middle East is actually a region where you're seeing everybody's claiming that they're healthy because demand is such that people want quality of life. If you're a high net worth individual, it's top of your list of what you're looking for.
Absolutely.
So I think that this is also where certification comes in, is that in this rush for everybody to claim that they're healthy, how do you continue to differentiate yourselves if you are using an evidence-based approach? And so that's obviously where a certification comes in.
Okay. How do you see this looking in 3 to 5 years? So
from a business perspective, I think that we are at a moment where we can really show the real estate industry how this is core business. So we have struggled, if I'm being honest, with really being able to join the dots between health outcomes, financial outcomes, and making it all make sense as far as the established valuation for real estate. So at the moment, we are not part of a valuation conversation, even though we are having a massive impact on value. So I think that there's a shift, which will happen in real estate because of the data, because of AI, that the financial decision makers will see, oh, actually, this is making a difference to my lease up rates or my retention of tenants and so on. But I think, again, it's because the data doesn't all speak in the same language that we've had a translation issue. So I think that on the business side, health and sustainability will both become core business for real estate and no longer on the periphery, which they have been. So that's an exciting shift because that will obviously be a game changer. And then I think on the consumer side, I think that as more and more businesses are really embracing health and wellness, it's already something people are asking for. But I think that there will be a much greater understanding of what good looks like. Because at the moment, I think what people are told is good isn't necessarily as good as it could be.
Got it. So if you had to say from an overall perspective, what is Joanna's superpower and how does that impact Fitwel from an overall perspective?
I think that I am a real data geek.
Data geek.
I do love the numbers. I really love the numbers. And I love seeing how they all come together. My background is a real estate developer, but I have now been educated in health for the last 15 years. So I think it is sitting at that kind of crossroads of lots of different professions and having the aha moment that, oh, what these folks are talking about from a health perspective is actually the outcome that these folks are looking for from a real estate perspective. It's just we don't speak the same language and we don't use the same words. We don't have the same way of measuring success. But actually, we do have a common goal, which is how do we create a built environment which is optimized for the people who are using it, which are people.
Yeah. Is there a lot of skepticism on that data right now still with developers and REITs?
No, I think the evidence base, the public health research and the economic evidence is very substantial. So I don't think that the skepticism of the research is real. I think that there is a lack of confidence or familiarity in what that means for the way I've been looking at real estate for the last 20 years, if I'm a developer. It's like these are not numbers that I have been considering before now. So it's our job to translate or the information into net operating income, NOI, and ROI, and tenant satisfaction. So I think it's our job to translate it into the language of real estate so that it does become very clear that this is actually core business.
So you've got a huge growth opportunity in the future, it seems like. Absolutely. And I would think in the US, Asia, and Middle East, all areas are big growth opportunities.
Yep.
Frankly, I don't see how Joanna can be the face of business development to all these countries.
No.
So maybe you haven't told me about other superpowers. You have a cape and you fly, or?
Yeah, no, I know. It's true. We need great partners in order to grow, and we already have great partners.
Okay.
So
marketing, or you mean just partnerships in the developers, and they'll take care of it?
Yeah, so we partner with all the big commercial real estate companies.
Okay.
So JLL, CBRE, Cushman & Wakefield, Savills, and so on. So they're our channel partners.
They're your channel partners.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of the way that we've grown.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because there are only so many hours in the day.
Exactly. Well, I think the Marriott is a huge shift and a great opportunity for you. Do you see other similar partnerships being able to grow as well for you?
I mean, we already have some really substantial partnerships. They're just different. So we also are partnering with a company called Harrison Street. So they're an equity provider, and they have two big asset classes they invest in. One is student housing and the other is senior housing. So we've partnered with them since the beginning of Fitwel. And we actually even created a new certification scorecard with them for senior housing. Okay. Because senior housing, the residents start at about 80 years old, and health outcomes for an 80-year-old are not the same as for an adult, in between 18 and 80. Okay. So we had to pull a new evidence base. So we've had a long-standing partnership with Harrison Street, and really kind of push the envelope on what it means in financial outcomes. So which is exciting. So we do have great industry partners that we already work with. Alda is a great partner. I've already mentioned them. They're our partners in the UAE. So we do have lots of different partnerships that exist already, and each one of them brings new knowledge for us, allows us to kind of expand in a direction that is obviously pertinent to what they're doing.
So is there any message you want to tell somebody that's looking into a purchase from a consumer perspective? What exactly should they look for, when they're evaluating their new purchase of a home or a new office?
Yeah, no, I think it's good to familiarize yourself. I mean, all of our information you can access free, so folks can kind of see, at least at the high level, what it means to be healthy. And I think this understanding that your mental health is impacted by where you live and where you work, your physical health, your levels of trust in society are greatly influenced by your built environment, which people, I don't think, realize. So I think understanding that you are being affected by your built environment and what to demand, I think is the first piece, right? If you don't know what to demand, then how do you know what good looks like? I think folks are demanding indoor air quality, but they aren't necessarily getting good indoor air quality. So I think that's an area that there's a big disconnect between consumer demand and what real estate industry is delivering at this point. But I would also say that consumers have a real responsibility when it comes to indoor air quality, because there's only so much mechanical equipment can do. What you're bringing into a space as an individual also makes a big difference. So I think that there's a shared responsibility for indoor air quality between a consumer and a building.
And if somebody wants to find out about more or get in touch with Fitwel, how would you recommend they do that?
Yeah, so fitwel.org.
Fitwel.org, okay.
There's a website. They can find lots of information. We've put out lots of publications over the years for different types of real estate. Consumers can tell whomever they're buying a home from, or if they're looking at, where to work. Like this demand, we know is very powerful. We hear it from our clients who are the owners, who are saying, we will do it when our tenants are demanding it. So that demand is definitely listened to by the industry.
Fantastic. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Joanna. I think it's an area that it was great to learn more about it. I immediately didn't connect, the buildings to health, but you're turning from just immediate, I think of spas and buildings, but I think the certification's got a huge opportunity to grow. And I congratulate you on your recent partnerships and, being the face of this company and seeing its growth. It's been a great story.
Well, thank you.
Great to have you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.